it's Julia. So I don't know if I really talked about it at all on this channel, but during the month of November I went on a book buying ban because I had just been buying way too many books. I was buying a lot more books than I was reading, and my TBR just kept growing and growing, so I decided to put myself on a book buying ban. That is why there's not a November book haul, is because I didn't buy any books in November, so therefore I have nothing to show you. However, while I was doing this book buying ban, I realized how difficult it is to not buy books. Granted, I do work in a bookstore and I'm around books all the time, like new releases, all these things that I want to buy. However, even without that in play, it would still be so hard just to not buy books. So I decided I would just share with you guys my best tips for going on a book buying ban. One of my tips is just to think of all the money that you will be saving by not buying books. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I spend a lot of money on books, and I feel like a lot of people on this part of YouTube will agree with me that books are expensive, and yet we still buy them because they're beautiful and amazing and spectacular. But just imagine, if you didn't buy the amount of books that you buy, if you just took a little break, think of the money that you could use for something else, or just accumulate a bunch of money and buy books after your book buying ban, which isn't really the point, but you know, you do you. Another tip is to read some books from your TBR that you've been really meaning to get to. I find that when I buy a lot of books, my TBR obviously continues growing, but I don't really go and read the books that I've had for a long time. I kind of tend to reach more towards the books that I purchased recently, and that's not good because then I have a whole whack of books that I want to read but I never go for. So your book buying ban is obviously a very good time to catch up on your TBR. My next tip is, if you are really craving a new book that you really want to read, or you just don't want to read any of the books on your TBR for some reason that you have in your life, go to the library. I have a great school library, I'm not gonna lie to you. My school library has so many new releases, so many beautiful YA books, but I don't utilize it enough. And during this book buying ban, I actually found myself going into the library a lot more often and seeing the books that I was seeing in the bookstore, but I could borrow them instead of buying them during my book buying ban time if I wanted to, in fact, read them. And if not, you can always use like a Kobo or an e-reader and use the library function and kind of go and get books on that. My next tip is to limit the amount of time you spend in a bookstore or on Amazon or things like that. Obviously, this was kind of tough for me considering I work in a bookstore. But if you can, during a book buying ban, avoid going into bookstores for prolonged amounts of time. I find that when I'm in a bookstore for a prolonged amount of time, the probability of me buying 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or however many books grows extensively to the point when I'm like, I'm gonna buy like 10 books. I find it easier to not buy a book when I'm not in a place where I can buy a book. Try your hardest to stay off like Amazon or Book Depository, Book Depot, wherever you get your books online as well, because that can be very tough to resist the beautiful deals on the internet. My next tip is to not give yourself an unreachable goal of time for your book buying ban. If you know that there's a book coming out that you need to get, don't put yourself on a book buying ban then, and don't put yourself on a book buying ban that you think is going to be too long for you to handle. Because a book buying ban, for me, it was for myself, and I just wanted to save money and to just kind of challenge myself, see if I could do it. And I gave myself a month, and for me that was perfect. But if you are an avid book buyer and even a week would be an amazing book buying ban for you, go for it for that amount of time. For whatever amount of time makes you feel a little bit more accomplished, saves you money, do that. You do you. I'm totally serious. And my last tip for being on a book buying ban is kind of a tip, but kind of just a little thing. If you want to do, you can do it, is to almost bribe yourself to go on a book ban. If there's this book that you really, really want, what you can do with that is you can be like, okay, if I make it to the end of this book ban, if I make it a month without buying any books, I will buy myself this one book. And it's definitely like bribing your brain, and to be honest, it works, because then you have this goal and this accomplishment and this reward at the end of the road, which will make everything seem a little bit more appealing to you. So those are all my tips for going on a book buying ban. I really recommend it, just because for me, I have not bought any books since then, and I know it's only like December 4th. I haven't really felt the need to buy any books, which is really good, because compared to where I was like in October, where I wanted to buy every single book, now I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, okay, I'll buy a book if I want to get a book, but I'm not gonna buy a book if I just see it and want it like that. I mean, obviously that could definitely change in the future, but for now, I am feeling really good. It's almost like you're on a diet of not buying books, but it's a little bit more healthy for your finances. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment down below if you plan on doing a book buying ban anytime soon, and if you have any other tips for going on a book buying ban as well. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!